Actually, just me this week on my own. Samantha is off gallivanting up to Shetland, I think, on another trip. I think I'd rather be here than Shetland, though. So, who's the real winner? Today's topic is something that is probably the least sexy topic we can talk about, and that includes recruitment, that includes reviews, and that includes financial control, etc. But I think it's a topic that is very, very relevant right now, and it's anti-money laundering. There was, I think whoever it is, HMRC released a list of businesses and a list of estate agents that got fined last year for not having the right AML systems and processes in place and checks. And the list was huge. And the fines ranged from £1,500, which I can only imagine is the sort of the entry level fine, up to, I think the highest I saw was £52,000. £52,000 for not having your right systems in place. And I think one of the reasons, or 99% of the reasons I could see, was just such a simple fix that I thought, if I can help anyone at all that listens, there's hundreds of you that listen, hopefully if I can go through a list of things that I know that you need in place, hopefully it'll get you thinking, and if and when HMRC come knocking on your door, then at least you're closer to passing than potentially you are now. We had a mastermind last week, and George from Marylebone did an hour session on anti-money laundering. I thought we were absolutely squeaky clean, and there was just one or two things that maybe we don't do at 100% that we've changed to make sure that we do going forward. And the last thing any of us want is a huge fine from HMRC, or even to be worried about HMRC calling us and booking in an audit, which does happen. It happens regularly. We did have and had masterminders that had this last year, and also that were on the fine list. So please don't think it won't happen to you. It's a frustration to me that we even need to do these checks, but it's on us, and therefore we all need to do it. No matter how new your business is, no matter how long you've been going, we have to do this. So first of all, who needs to register? And the regulations apply to anyone in financial and credit businesses, independent legal professions, accountants, tax advisors, auditors, insolvency practitioners, trust and company service providers, estate agency businesses, that is all of us, letting agency businesses with individual monthly rents of €10,000 or more. I don't know why it says euros. I think that is now dropping to zero. So any letting agent business at all, I believe. Casinos, high value dealers, and art market participants, just to name a few. So I've got 7 things here that I hope everyone I say, you go, yeah, we do that perfectly. And the 7 things won't guarantee you pass this test from HMRC, but hopefully if you've got these 7 things, it's a start. And if you don't, well, it's somewhere to look and somewhere to go, and to make sure that you're as close to passing as you possibly can be, because it's a bit of a minefield. Our team, I think Rightmove do some free AML training, and our team do that every year in the past. But some of this stuff that was brought up in the mastermind last week is even new to us and new to the team. So bear with me on the boring topic, but if I'm saving you thousands of pounds, then you are very welcome. So number 1 is the simplest one, I think. But as I said, 99% of the list got done for this simple thing, and it's to make sure that you are actually registered. You've got to pay a fee every year to register for anti-money laundering. How to register? You just go to gov.uk, anti-money laundering to register, and it takes you through 4 or 5 simple pages. You pay a fee. I think the fee's around £160, something like that. And you need to do that every single year. So if an email comes into your inbox, do not ignore it. You will be heavily fined for not being registered. Again, I totally disagree that we should be having to pay to be on a list of something that's mandatory for us to police, if you like. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's the way it is. All your businesses, and if you've got different limited companies for different offices, have to be registered for anti-money laundering. So please make sure you are registered. And even if you think you are, go back and check, because if you're not, it's an instant fine without any questions need to be asked. Number 2 is to have an anti-money laundering policy. Now, you can find these for free online, but you need a policy. You need to have a policy in place for your business that everybody has read, everybody has agreed to, everybody has signed, everybody understands. And when or if the HMRC officer comes in, that's the first thing they will ask for. Can I see your AML policy? And that policy has to be correct and up to date and easy for them to access. If you've got to go and dig around in files, or if you've got to go and download one off the internet and edit it, then again, that's an instant fail. So please make sure you have a policy. It's an up-to-date policy and everyone in your team has read it and signed it and understood it. This isn't one of the lists, but one thing we did, because we were checked probably about 5 years ago, is from there we created training documents where every 3 months we'd have a quick anti-money laundering training session with the whole team, and they'd write it in their training schedule. So when the HMRC came, we could say, look, we train our team just so if they feel or believe that it's front and center in your business and you're taking it seriously and your team are taking it seriously and it's not something that you ignore, that gives you it gets you off on the right path, I guess. To make sure that your team are aware of it and understand it and are looking out for it wherever possible. Number 3, and this is the thing that we maybe didn't do as well as needed to. So the first of all is have a business risk assessment. So you need to risk assess the types of homes you sell, the types of buyers you deal with, where those buyers are coming from, etc. You need to have an understanding of to assess the potential risks to your business. There are areas around the UK that will be, you think, will be more liable to not money laundering, but to dealing with foreign nationals or people that are exposed to politically exposed person, or that are exposed to sanctions, etc. So have a risk assessment. Keep updating that risk assessment when different sanctions happen or different things happen around the world as necessary, and that needs to be for the company. Now, you also should have a individual risk assessment for every property that goes to market. Again, on price point, on the likely buyers. I think when we had the session last week, some agents in there have a risk assessment for buyer and seller, and note that down and have that in the file. It can get a bit silly, I think, but you should, I believe, have an individual risk assessment for each property, which, again, it is a lot to do. So that's number 3. If you want to know what to put in the risk assessment, you can find all that online. I don't want to go into it. I am certainly not qualified to teach you about AML. I'm trying to give you an idea on the ingredients you need to pass. Number 4, identification of both buyers and sellers. This should be done in person, so you've seen them and their ID and their proof of address at the same time. If it can't be done in person, they can send an image, a picture of it, but that picture should be then authenticated by a solicitor, and that solicitor needs to be on the list of the Law Society. So they have to be Law Society approved, and then they have to authenticate the ID. So we're not supposed to just accept a picture, or we're not supposed to accept, something that's just sent through to us. We have to see it and take a picture of it, or it has to be authenticated by an approved solicitor, and that solicitor can be on the Law Society list. And you need to find that solicitor on the Law Society and print that out and have that in your AML pack too. If the solicitor's been struck off, then they need to go and find another solicitor that will do that. There are different things that go into for companies, but I'm not going to go into that now because that gets very complicated in terms of trusts and in terms of buying through a limited company. There are other checks that you need to do. So if that is you and that happens often, then please look into exactly what that looks like and make sure you've got the steps in place. For ID, just sticking on ID for a second, because we also have to check if they are a politically exposed person, so any MPs or anyone related to an MP, or are they hit by sanctions? It's quite a popular thing right now. If anyone from Russia, for an example, tries to buy, then they may have sanctions against them, and we need to run those tests because they're likely that they can't buy. Also, the tests should say whether this person is alive or not, because if someone's trying to use an ID that of someone that's deceased, then obviously that is a big red flag for money laundering. We use a company called Credit Safe. There was lots mentioned last week, so find the best one that works for you. I think Credit Safe is £1 per person, and it checks whether they're alive, whether they're a PEP, a PEP, or whether they've got sanctions or anything else that could come up against them. So that's one check, then that needs to be printed out and put in the file, and the ID is a separate check that we also need to do. Complicated, isn't it? Number 5 is, and I thought, which is why I watched this podcast, I thought this one was probably the most simple and the most obvious, and it's just because we've been told in the past that we needed to do it. But half of the room, and obviously I'm not going to say who was in the room, but half of the room last week didn't do this and didn't. Some businesses have been around for 10, 15 years, and they didn't have in their process and systems to do this. And that is that once you've taken on a home, to download the title from land registry, and obviously on the title it says who the owner is, and the owner of that property then has to match with the IDs you're taking. So if half of the room last week weren't doing this, then I would hate to imagine how many agents out there aren't doing this. And the reason we need to do it is because we need to be 100% sure that the person that sat in front of us with the ID is the true owner of the property. And without the title from land registry, that is not possible. So you will need that on file, and it will need to match with all your other paperwork. Another frustration is it costs, I think it's £7 at the moment. I remember it was £3 when we opened. I think someone said last week it was free not too long ago. So £7 I think is a ridiculous amount of money for something that is just held on a register. I'm not really sure what we're paying for, and if it's mandatory it should be free, but there you go. Every property should have a title with it. Number 6, the things that you need before launch, and before launch date is really important. So HMRC can work with Rightmove and work with others to find out exactly the exact date a property went on the market, a property you listed, and all your paperwork needs to be in line with this. So the land reg, the date you downloaded the title, the signed contract, and the signed contract has to be in exactly the right name for that goes with the ID and goes with the land reg. So the signed contract has to be before launch date, and also IDs and the risk assessment need to be dated and in date for the launch date. So, yeah, there's quite a few things that they will check. I think that's fairly simple, and we just have a policy that there's no way that a house goes live without all that happening. And even if people kick up a fuss and get frustrated with us, it isn't on us. It's not our rules. It's just something that, yeah, unfortunately we have to do. So make sure all that is in place. This is where it might be difficult for some people to go back and fix it retrospectively, if you were to do that. With land reg, because obviously the land reg date, you might have 50 homes in the market right now. You could go and get all those 50, which I probably would if you haven't. I'll go and download them all and get them in a file, but all the dates are going to be wrong. And if you have sold the properties, then obviously the name is going to be different. So if I were you and you don't do this, I would go and download them all and get them in a file and make sure the files were absolutely tip-top, and just make sure it happens from now on. I would hope, no, I know I'm definitely wrong here, but I would hope that HMRC would think that you've taken steps to improve your systems and improve your processes, and if you could prove it was right from now until they come, I hope they would be comfortable with that, but I guess we all know that they wouldn't. I'd love to know where all this fine money goes, because the list that we put on our AJ Mastermind Facebook page, a link to the list of agents that got fined, not to embarrass anyone, just to show the extent of the list was incredible. There must have been hundreds of agents on there, and majority were probably £5,000 to £10,000 fines, and I said some went up to 52,000, which is just crazy. Number 7, and the last one, the last small tip I will give you, is to be registered with the National Crime Agency, because any red flag whatsoever, and this is a bit of a HMRC look at us, I guess, because any red flag whatsoever, and we straight away report a SAR, which is a suspicious activity report. You can do it on the NCA website, the National Crime Agency website. It takes about a minute. It doesn't take long at all. But any red flag, make sure you do that, because once that's the report's printed off and it comes through and it goes in the file, that, in my opinion, proves and shows to HMRC that you're taking it seriously and that you are on the lookout for people that are potentially money laundering. It's important to note that a SAR is when no crime has happened by your knowledge. It's purely based on suspicion. So we try and do 2 or 3 a year. I know that sounds silly, but any red flag at all, and we put one in. And it potentially also keeps HMRC off your back. And they might be listening to this and think, right, we need to target these people. But it potentially keeps HMRC off your back because you are doing the right things. You're trying to show them people or areas or companies or something where there is potential for money laundering. Now, I don't believe, or we haven't ever, you'll ever find out the result. It's really important that you never tell the buyer or seller that you have reported them. It's anonymous from every other aspect. You'll never find out what actually happens, but print this SAR off and get it in the file and be ready. So the 7 things there for you to work on or work with, and if you've gone through each 7 and gone, yep, got that, then amazing. Hopefully you're in a good position. As I said at the start, I'm not trained, or I'm not in a position to train anyone on AML procedures and legislation, etc. These are things that we've picked up over the last week, that there was at least one person in the room, or one person, or where we've seen, that didn't have one of these things in place. So there are lots of agents that listen to this podcast. I can guarantee you that at least half won't have some of those things in place. I'd say probably 90% won't have some of those things in place. So if we can help just one of you avoid a fine or be doing the right things, then our job this week is certainly done. And I promise we'll have a sexier topic next week. Usually we like to talk about things that will make you money, but hopefully this topic is something that will save you money. And in months and years to come, you'll be messaging me on Facebook saying, thank you so much for saving me thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds with that really boring podcast you did. And you will appreciate this time was well spent. See you next week.